This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Easy Eats. My name is Chef Yves Dechaine, and today we're in the Greener Villages Learning Kitchen with Lisa Ross, Director of Solo Chicken Project. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Chef Yves. It's so nice to be here.
Right on. So today we're going to be making a panzanella salad. It fits right into the theme of the Greener Village, is using stuff that would otherwise go to waste and create something really nice, simple, and easy. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about Solo Chicken Project. Let's talk about Lisa Ross.
Well, I had moved to Toronto in 2000. I had trained as an actor. I went to Dalhousie University, then found myself in California doing physical theater. And while I was in California studying physical theater, I was introduced to the art of clown. And after that was over, a group of us migrated to Toronto to study with a well-known clown teacher. And I'm from Ontario, I'm from Southern Ontario, so I stayed in the city and started a company called Clown Hall, which we ran for a number of years and had a lot of crazy, wild, and fun times. And then when that was over, I started my own theater company. So because I was alone, I decided it needed to be solo something, solo. So I was searching for a good name, something funny, because I, of course, was doing a lot of comedy and clown and physical theater. So chickens, I don't know, chickens seemed like a good idea. Yeah. So it became Solo Chicken. So originally Solo Chicken was just me, just all by myself, Solo Chicken Productions. And then I migrated here in 2011. And I brought the company with me, which really was just a couple of tubs of costumes and my computer. And since that time, it has really evolved and grown. And it really is no longer a solo venture. It's a full-fledged company we're a registered charity with a board, and we have full-time staff who work all year with me, and we're a full coop now.
What does the Solo Chicken offer?
Okay. Well, our home is at the Charlotte Street Arts Center, which is really special to me because when I first moved to Fredericton, I decided to take a job at the Charlotte Street Arts Center as the Director of Outreach. And so it was really at Charlotte Street that I got introduced to the community and made a lot of my important community connections. And I really love that building. I love what it represents, that it really is a community hub.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And a couple of years ago, as you know, they did a huge renovation which made the building accessible. Because that was one of the big challenges with the building, was the auditorium wasn't accessible. And so a lot of the programming that we were running before, it was difficult for us to run things there because we couldn't really we couldn't bring our participants there. So they did the renovation. There's a beautiful elevator. There's a beautiful accessible washroom. So we've been running our programming there for, I would say, 6 years. It's been our solid home.
Okay, yeah.
And then last year, we got an office, which is kind of exciting. So we have our own office in the building, and then we use the auditorium as our main program focus. Yeah.
Fantastic. So how does one get involved? Do you offer classes? Do you put on theater?
We like to say, in 3 different wings or areas of the company. So we have creation, which means we create, we are a devised physical theater company. So that's okay. a lot of words, which just basically means we don't do pre-made scripts. So we devise it ourselves.
Okay.
So we have creation, so we create new works of physical theater. And then we have our training wing, where we offer workshops and classes. And then we also have what we call the community wing. And that's where we work with communities to help them tell their stories. So we call it community collaboration.
Okay.
So for instance, last year, the Riverstone Recovery Center, Dr. Sarah Davidson reached out to us and said, would you be interested in working with us on a project that help to change that would help change the narrative around the clients who use the center. Because of course, you know, folks who are experiencing substance use disorder and homelessness, there's like a stigma. So I spent 8 months working at the center and meeting all the clients, getting to know them, they would share their stories with me, and then eventually we started writing poetry together. But the goal of that community work is definitely to connect with a community, and most often it's an underserved community. So we've had the chance to work with low-income seniors, with Indigenous youth, and of course, you know, I work with L'Arche,
Yes.
and we run something called the Spirit Project, which is a company of artists with and without intellectual and physical disabilities, autism, and dual diagnosis. So that's a big part of our community wing.
So the panzanella salad was basically designed to recuperate food waste. So what you would do is we would just grab day old or I hate to use the word stale.
Yeah, I understand.
But
day
what
old
it is
works.
it's just day old or old crusty bread. So you know that Italian breads, baguettes, ciabatta buns, chewier breads tend to get hard. So the panzanella was designed to kind of use fresh garden vegetables that were in season and also use up the day old bread. What we're going to do now is traditionally the bread was already hard. Now, modern days, bread really doesn't get all as hard as it could be. So what we're going to do is we're going to harden it. We're going to dry it out in the oven a little bit. So I'll take some already day-old bread. It usually freshens up a little bit in the oven, but what we're going to do is we're going to bring it a little bit further, and we're just going to dry it. We're not going to brown it. We're not going to toast it. We're just going to dry it. Make it crunchy, exactly. But the idea is to make it the same size because you kind of want a uniformity, and you also want them to dry the same amount. So, and like I said, I'm just using these little ciabatta buns, but you can definitely use a baguette that you have left over. I would just avoid stuff like Wonder Bread or any kind of soft bread because it doesn't, what it'll do, it will go
fall apart
and it'll get too soft, and no one likes to eat wet, soggy. Like, I mean, bread pudding's fun, but bread pudding is
That's
not.
its own thing.
It's its own
That's its
thing,
own
exactly.
thing.
So we've got that chopped up right here. All I'm going to do now is just drizzle a little bit of olive oil over top. Not a whole lot because we don't want to make it crunchy. We just want to give it a little bit of texture and then add a little bit of kosher salt to it as well, and that's going to help it dry up as well.
Okay.
So we're just going to dry these out in the oven, and we'll be back after these few messages.
Bandu, Senegal, 1760.
When he was only 16, Richard Pierpoint was enslaved in Senegal and taken to America.
A young Richard Pierpoint looks through cell bars. Upper Canada, 1812.
All us men have sworn on this petition to fight.
You're an old man. The British Army has militias and trained soldiers.
I fought with the British during the American Revolution.
Pierpoint stands before a commanding officer.
Take your land and farm it. Leave the Americans to us.
Pierpoint leans in toward the officer.
With respect, sir. I was born a free man, and I intend to die one. Your officers fight for land and money. I fight for my freedom.
Pierpoint walks away from the desk.
Richard Pierpoint was one of thousands of black loyalists who won their freedom in the American Revolution. 30 years later, at the age of 68, he petitioned for an all-black unit that would defend Upper Canada during the War of 1812.
Welcome back to Easy Eats. Again, we're in the Greener Villages Learning Kitchen with Lisa Ross, Director of Solo Chicken Productions, and we are making panzanella salad. So the bread's still in there and it still needs to roast a little bit.
Okay.
But what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of make the vinaigrette for it. And then while we're doing that, let's talk about some of the social projects that you have going on, especially the Spirit Project.
So the very first year we launched it in May of 2019. We partnered with the Charlotte Street Arts Center as well. And we designed a year of workshops, essentially. So we did 8 weeks of art with Angela Black from
Yes.
Open Your Art, who of course L'Arche still partners with, which is great. We did 8 weeks of improv with Jean-Michel Cliche. And then we did 8 weeks of dance with Lysandra Dodson. We did 8 weeks of music with Moon Joyce and Beth Johnston, two of my favorite people in the world. And then we started doing film. But unfortunately, 2020, we might all remember the little thing that happened then, the pandemic. So we had to shut the film down, but we got in almost a full year of workshops. And what I discovered during that year was that I absolutely loved working with the folks, and it was, so this is kind of an important part of L'Arche,
Yeah.
I think, to share with your viewers, that L'Arche is about creating opportunities for people with and without intellectual and physical disabilities
yeah.
to connect. It's about building community. So it's not a program for people with intellectual disabilities. It's about community. And so I felt like the opportunities for creating community were so rich, and we were having such a wonderful time personally, creatively. It was magical. I enjoyed every moment of it. So I asked L'Arche if they would mind if I continued, and I said, let's make a show now. So we've done the workshops. I'm ready to make a show. So we spent a year making our very first show, which was called We Are Luminous. And
I remember that
you
very
remember
well.
that show?
Yes.
It was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful show. We toured it. We went to Sackville and performed it for Live Bait. We went to St. John and performed pieces of it there. We performed it at the Charlotte Street Arts Center. And again, it was just like, oh, this was meant to be. We need to continue doing this work.
So let's get back to the salad here. I'm just going to check these croutons really quick.
Getting
And
crunchy.
they are. We're just going to shut that down, and we'll leave that right there, but we're going to create the vinaigrette. So we're going to start off with a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. And red wine vinegar is classic, but you can use any type of vinegar you would like to use. I would just avoid the white vinegar. I find it really, really harsh. So white wine, red wine, apple cider vinegar, that type of thing works out really, really well.
Okay.
And then we're going to add a little bit of Dijon
I
mustard.
love Dijon mustard.
So here's where you want to use your Dijon. I like yellow prepared mustard, but I do find it a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
So the Dijon kind of gives it a nice
A little mellower.
mellower, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll just mix that up like that. And then there's no real measurement for the olive oil. It's just kind of what your heart tells you. So we got that right there. And then we're going to grab a little bit of garlic. And I'm just going to mince it up. So I think these are big cloves, so we're only going to use one today. So we've got it minced up just like this. And a neat tip about this is that the more you chop the garlic, the more fragrance and more garlic flavor you'll get from the garlic. So if you don't want a very pungent garlicky, you just
Really chop it up.
If you want it super pungent, chop it up a lot.
Chop it up more.
Exactly. If you just want just a little hint of garlic, just crush the clove.
Put the whole
and
thing
put
in.
and put the whole thing in. But if you want a bigger garlic punch, then you mince it up. So we'll add that right like that, and then we're going to grab a little bit of oregano that I pulled out of the garden this morning as well. So there we go. We've got that in there like that.
That looks so good.
And that's just really a quick vinaigrette. Ratios are 3 to 1. If you're a mathematician and you're specific on it, it's 3 oil to 1 vinegar.
Okay.
And then you need your emulsifier, and the emulsifier in here is your mustard.
Mustard, okay.
So now that we've got our vinaigrette made, I'm going to grab the bread that we've dried out of the oven, just like this, and you're going to notice that there's a little bit of brown, but it's not super toasted. All we wanted to do is just dry it out. So we're basically we're making croutons.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll take these croutons and we'll just toss them in here like this and give them just a quick toss like that, and then we'll just hold that right here, and then we're going to let it just kind of absorb some of the oil while we're doing that, and then we're going to start on to cutting the vegetables. So today in this salad we're just going to use cherry tomatoes. You can use any kind of tomatoes, anything that's ripe or you have in the fridge. I'm going to use cucumber because we have it. It don't necessarily need to use it, but a panzanella is basically just garden ripe vegetables
Whatever you got.
in with your crusty bread, whatever
Okay.
you got.
Okay. So you mentioned that this is like a rustic Italian dish meant to kind of use up the ends. Do you know a little more of the history about the dish?
The history? Well, it's from central Italy, central southern Italy, so Tuscany is where it comes from, and it's really rustic, and it is. It's the word translated, so pane, which is Italian for bread, so pan, and zanella is a deep serving dish.
And would they use olive oil as well, or was
They
that
would, they would use olive oil
use
as well,
olive oil.
and
Let's
everything.
be honest,
and
every Italian
basically, it
dish.
was just kind of like a garnish.
Okay.
So it wasn't a vinaigrette; it was more just
vinegar
and water, and then any kind of spices and herbs that they had from the garden.
Okay.
This recipe usually calls for shallots, but if you're going to not buy shallots just for this,
Right.
so what I usually use is a nice salad onion. So a red onion, I'll use green onion, I'll use a Videa or sweeter onion. I'd stay away from the cooking onions because those are sharp and a little aggressive, and I want that vinegar to be the star, not the onion.
Right.
So now we're going to add our cucumber. Again, a nice fresh summer. It's basically going out into the garden in the morning or in the afternoon, picking what you want and bringing it in, and they're still nice and warm from the garden, and it just kind of melts together, and that's what's nice about this salad. You can serve it with any kind of grilled meats or just by itself. Works out really, really nice, right like that. So I'm going to slice these tomatoes as well, and because they're cherry tomatoes and I have a lot of them, I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick that I learned while I was cooking in restaurants. Is you just grab a plate and you line the bottom just like that, and you put a plate over top like this, and you don't press down too hard, but just gently, and then run your knife right across.
Amazing.
Just like this, and then you've got your half cherry tomatoes like that, and you're not forever going like this one at a time. Now
This is a
listen,
revelation.
you are doing the a new project, I guess, not just a spirit project, but you're also working with not just folks from L'Arche, though, but can you tell me about the Merge program?
So we really spent the last year just intentionally focusing on access at Solo Chicken. And a part of that journey was the launching of a new initiative. And we called it Merge because, again, project names, you needed good project names because we were talking about merging the two distinct wings of creation and community. We wanted them to come together.
Okay, yeah.
So we started from January to April. We hired 8 professional artists, and those were artists with and without intellectual and physical disabilities, autism and dual diagnosis. So this group, we all came together, and basically our focus, everyone was, and this is really important, we called these authentic employment opportunities. So real work for real pay.
Gotcha.
Because as you know, I think for some folks with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities, employment is a challenge, and especially finding employment that is authentic, a real job, a good fit job. So every artist that was hired at Merge, they were the right fit for that job, and every artist was paid equally. So that's what Merge was really about. And that's all the social construct and political and social. But at the end of the day, what we were really wanting to do is make some great work to create something amazing. We knew, of course, that it was going to work, but I feel like the journey and then the product, it astounded us, and we just said, yes, 100%, this is just the beginning for us.
So we're just going to toss this, and then we'll go to break, and we'll be back to garnish and taste.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts, a racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn. Become an ally. rise above racism in healthcare.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Welcome back. We are in the Greener Village's Learning Kitchen with Lisa Ross, director of Solo Chicken Productions. And we're just about to put the final touches on our panzanella salad. So you can notice that the bread is still really crunchy. It's not getting soggy. The juices from the tomatoes, the onions, and the cucumbers are slowly seeping in there and kind of marrying together. So we'll give that a couple more minutes. And then we're going to garnish with some lovely basil that I got here in our hydroponic tower. And I mean, it's like monster basil.
That is the biggest basil leaf I have ever seen.
I know, and they're crazy.
And do they taste delicious?
They do. We'll find out here in a minute.
Okay.
So what we're going to do here, and I'm just going to show you guys right here, we'll move that over, is to get them, I'm going to make a chiffonade. So a chiffonade is basically a French term for ribbons, or chiffon, right?
Oh, chiffonade, okay.
So all we'll do is we'll take our basil leaves, we stack them together. I've got 2 or 3 right here, and then all we're going to do is we're going to roll them up just like this. So into a cigar shape.
Does that like release their...
Well, we're kind of bruising it, so yeah, it'll release a little bit of it, and then we're going to cut right across like this, like a julienne.
Thin. Okay.
So it creates that, once I fluff it a little bit, you'll notice that it gives it that kind of a chiffon type look. We'll garnish with a little bit of basil, just like this, and then we're using bocconcini, so you can use bocconcini, fresh mozzarella. It's completely an option. You don't have to put this in the salad.
Okay. So what is bocconcini?
Bocconcini is basically just unripened or new mozzarella. And mozzarella balls are usually about this big or so. So bocconcini is small
just
mozzarella.
Mini versions.
Exactly. Again, different shapes and textures, and that's what makes this salad really good too. Is you've got soft, you've got crunchy, you've got chewy, creamy.
Yeah.
With the Solo Chicken, you've got your merge project, and you said you have a couple other projects on the go. Can we talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so we're really proud of a show that it had been in development since 2017. We'd been working with local artist Alex Rioux, who's a wonderful theater artist. And they had come to us in 2017 with this idea about they really wanted to explore the purge of LGBT members of the military through theater. So this is a real stain on Canadian history. In 2017, Prime Minister Trudeau finally issued a formal apology to these members of the military and RCMP who had been essentially, there have been like a very calculated, ongoing sort of purge is really the best way. Any members of the military who were perceived to be part of the LGBT community were spied on, their families were spied on, and then many were like dishonorably discharged. Of course, it ruined many people's lives. Many Canadians don't really know about. It's not very well known. So Alex came to us and said, I would really like to explore this through theater. Can you support me in this? So we did. And then we performed at notable acts in 2019. But again, the pandemic put a little wedge in the process, but eventually we were able to get that motor running again. And so last year, Alex, with a new group of actors, rewrote the script, and it premiered again at the Notable Acts Festival last summer.
Okay.
And so the show is called Fruit Machine. And then we had a maritime tour. So we toured to Moncton, Sackville, and St. John. And then we actually recently booked a new tour. So we're going to be going into Nova Scotia next year, which is wonderful.
The shows that you create, are you trying to create socially conscious shows like the Fruit Machine? Is that kind of the direction that the theater company is aiming?
I think in our hearts, we really want to tell important stories.
Yes.
And I mean, that can come in the form of a joyous, like Hearts Above Us,
yes.
to us, that is just as important a story to tell as Fruit Machine, you know, to share the creative impulses of our Spirit Project artists through joyful song and poetry and film. That is also challenging and delightful. So
perfect. For those who want to get involved, is there a space that they can get involved with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are always looking for volunteers if
Okay.
people are interested in volunteering. We also run all kinds of classes. So we are always running improv and comedy classes led by Jean-Michel Cliche, and Jill Salmon runs our, we do a stand-up class, which people love. And one of the things that we've really tried to focus on in the last year is making our classes as accessible as possible.
Okay.
So if you do visit our website and you're looking at some of our classes, we always have what we call access information that will kind of give you an idea of what kind of access we offer.
School's letting out soon. Do you guys offer any type of summer camps or anything like that for I guess for the young and I guess olds to participate in?
This year we decided to partner with Theatre New Brunswick, and we're offering, and Charlotte Street Arts Centre of course as well, to offer 2 special camps. So one is Spirit Project Junior. It's open to students with and without intellectual and physical disabilities, autism and dual diagnosis. And then we are also doing an improv camp with our improv maven, Jean-Michel Cliche, and that will be, of course, exactly what it sounds like. It's open to teens, I think ages 14 to 17.
Well, the salad's done. It's sat enough for the bread to not be super crusty and just kind of soften a little bit. So I'm going to grab us a bowl here.
This is really the grand finale.
And then you let me know what you think. And Lisa, thank you so much for coming in today, talking about what I find is one of those, Fredericton has a bunch of good secrets that people should know about. And I think that Solar Chicken Productions is definitely one of those best kept secrets here in Fredericton.
Oh, thank you, Chef Yves. I have so much respect for what you do.
Thank you.
And so it was a real pleasure to be asked to come and hang out with you today.
Perfect.
Should I try this?
Well, try it and let me know what you think.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab a little myself
gosh,
too.
this looks incredible.
You see how the texture from crunchy to creamy, nice and bright.
That is delicious. Thank you, Chef Yves.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Perfect.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
My Uncle Cheney was one of over 150,000 Indigenous children that were taken to residential schools between the 1800s and 1996. My uncle ran away from school wanting to get home to his mom and dad, and sadly he didn't make it and died of exposure. When Gord Downey found out about my late Uncle Cheney's story, he wrote Secret Path, a series of poems that became an album, then a graphic novel, a documentary, and a concert. Gord met my family, and together we formed the Gord Downey and Cheney Winjack Fund. Together we are sharing Secret Path and other reconciliation resources with legacy schools, setting up legacy spaces across Canada, and hosting events like Secret Path Week to inspire all Canadians to engage in reconciliation. Before he left us, Gord asked us all to do something.
You're gonna figure it out.
Will you join us? Together we can make Canada a better place.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
This is Rogers TV.
Tuesdays on City TV. It's summer's #1 show. Go for gold.
You think there's no way to top it? This season tops it.
America's Got Talent. All new. Tuesdays, 8/7 Central.